SyrupDrop. I'm Jessica Bamiro, and this is my colleague Rose Bahar.
Hey everybody!
And it has been an insanely busy week in the tech space. I think every company decided to drop something on us in the past 5 days or so.
It definitely felt that way. I mean, Apple unveiled its long-awaited MacBook Pros at a hardware unveiling event, and Microsoft unveiled some new Surfaces. So it was lots of excitement. What did you think of the new MacBook Pros?
I thought that for people that have been waiting over 3 years to receive this next generation MacBook Pro,
see a real redesign.
It was a little underwhelming, to be quite honest. I think that the Touch Bar was a huge upgrade. Obviously, everybody was very impressed with all the capabilities of the Touch Bar, replacing the function keys and everything, but otherwise, I don't feel like there was that much added.
Right, because it's a good question. Is the Touch Bar a gimmick, or will it actually bring some real value to the whole thing? I mean, it does look fairly cool. It adapts to the different programs.
You can surf through your emojis with it.
That's what it's all about. That is the selling point, guys. But it's actually not exactly super innovative. I mean, it is cool, but Lenovo did something very similar to it. A few years ago, in 2014, they had a laptop come out where they replaced the function keys with a sort of touchpad, although it only had like 4 different screens that you could access, so much less functionality than the MacBook Pro.
Definitely. Well, Apple really doesn't want any of its users to think it's a gimmick, because it actually released 3 new MacBook Pros, 2 with the Touch Bar, 1 without the Touch Bar, and the price difference between the 13-inch without the Touch Bar and the 13 and 15-inch with the Touch Bar is ginormous.
Right, exactly. So it's $18.99 at the lower end with the function keys, and at the higher end it's about $289.99. $2,089. Almost $3,000, folks.
That's the important part.
And I mean, the other thing that I'm not in love with is the port situation on the MacBook Pro.
4 Thunderbolt USB-C ports and no SD card slot.
No, absolutely. And to me, that's a real drawback, especially when it's called a professional device. Professional designers are going to want something like an SD card slot. They're going to want something like maybe, just like standard USB port. And without that, I think it's a big drawback. Although there is that 3.5 millimeter headphone jack,
which I was surprised to see in the redesign of the MacBook Pro.
I guess they didn't have enough courage to take it away this time.
I guess not. But if you are looking to get any of those extra ports, you can join the dongle life. And
that's another t-shirt we're coming out with soon. Hashtag dongle life.
Hashtag Team Guy Lawrence. So please.
I appreciate that in our past video, somebody did order the hashtag
Or
Team
they
Lawrence.
tried to,
That'll be coming through on my dime if it has to. I promise you, viewer.
So Apple wasn't the only company to release some new products this week, and Rose actually took the lead on some of the Microsoft coverage. So why don't you tell us a little bit about why Microsoft might be the new innovator on the block?
Oh, exactly. I mean, the first thing that was really funny was that Microsoft's event, which came the day before Apple's, and Apple's event, they were so similar, even the way that they were set up. They both started with a touching video about their accessibility options for people who are disabled or sort of differently abled, and need sort of special accessibility options and features. So that was it was kind of striking how they started out in the exact same way. Tim Cook and Satya Nadella wore the same outfit. Pretty embarrassing.
Well, don't
for
all
them.
tech people wear the same outfit pretty much?
You're probably true.
The tech
You're probably
CEO
right.
uniform?
Yeah, absolutely. But what I was really excited about, there are a couple of cool things with Microsoft. One of them was an inexpensive VR headset that had sensors also on the outside, so it was sort of a mix of VR and AR, in which you would be able to sort of the headset would be able to sense your environment and therefore give you kind of the abilities of a more high-end VR headset like Oculus or the Vive from HTC, but in a less expensive format. Although we don't really know much about that yet.
For sure.
We know it's coming through with partners like Dell and HP, which isn't very exciting. So who knows what's going on with that. What I was really excited about was the Surface Studio, which was Microsoft's first attempt kind of at really like challenging the iMac. And it has a beautiful 5K screen that both like goes down to a 20-degree angle for drafting or can be put fully upright. And it comes with this really neat accessory called the Surface Dial, where you put it on the screen, and haptic feedback lets you click through options for manipulating the screen. For designers, it looks really cool, and I know a lot of people are very excited about it.
Yeah, let's compare them on price for a moment. I know we don't know the Canadian pricing of the Surface Studio just yet, but what was the American pricing around, and is this going to cost people an arm and a leg?
So at the top end, the American pricing was about $4,000. That is an arm and a leg.
Pretty steep, yeah.
So, I mean, and then, but also like Apple, people who want the new MacBook Pro are also looking at that at the top end about that price. So it's an interesting comparison to be made between the laptop or a desktop. However, the desktop, the Surface Studio, also has the same chipset, the same processor, the Core i7. So that makes me worry that it'll be a little underpowered.
I find that a little problematic with all the different features that they've included in the Surface Studio, whether or not it will really be able to handle it or whether it could need a better processor. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Makes you nervous to buy for that amount of money, for sure. Yeah.
Anyway, so in addition to Microsoft and Apple, Twitter also had some interesting news this week. And
trying to sort of sneak it under the line just as the Apple keynote started.
Definitely. And Twitter released their earnings report this week. And not only did they lay off approximately 350 people, but they're actually discontinuing their subsidiary company, Vine, which I'm sure many of you used maybe 2 years ago for 6 months before it got kind of boring and you stopped using it. But they're actually shutting it down. So what do you think about that?
I think that's sad. I mean, there's a lot of great comedy gold that came out of Vine. I mean, do you remember Why You Lying? Why You Always Lying? That was from Vine. And I think, it's a little bit sad. However, I will say that I didn't use Vine because
actually.
I tried actually a couple of times and I just found my community wasn't on there and there was a lot of kind of weird content, racist or sexist sometimes. And so I was like,
there's word that Twitter didn't really give Vine the resources that it needed to kind of grow into what it could have been. It kind of acquired the company and then didn't support it to the point where it needed to be supported. So unfortunately, it kind of petered off, lost engagement, just as Twitter's sort of losing engagement right now. But I guess that's the end of an era.
It really is. And I think the co-founder of Vine actually tweeted out after the news, never sell your company or don't sell your company. And that, speaks for itself. He wasn't happy with how Twitter ran his company, I suppose.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But I mean, this kind of thing happens every day. Social media networks rise, social media networks fall, and Facebook will be around forever, as we've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. Facebook, you're golden. Vine, sorry, get it while you can. Watch your loops while you can. Download the app, have a last hurrah. Maybe if you do, they won't take away Vine.
Yeah, maybe we can show them how much we love Vine and that we don't want them to shut it down, but who knows.
Hashtag save Vine.
New t-shirt. Order online.
Yeah.
In the world of Canadian news, however, we actually have an interesting development coming up with a hearing this Monday. And Rose over here actually appeared on CBC this afternoon to talk about it.
Absolutely. I am on the Money with Diane Buckner. So everybody take a look. That was a lot of fun. Basically what we talked about is Open Media, this advocacy group, is advocating for unlimited data. And this is something that's been brought up to the big three countless times in the past. They don't want any of it, and they're not eager to give us unlimited data. What are your thoughts on it? Would unlimited data work, and is that what you'd like to see?
Well, I've actually done a little bit of research on this story. I talked to some of the people working at Open Media who are involved with the campaign, and essentially their argument is that nobody loses money here except for the money that you're making on overages, and that the Canadian people are essentially trapped in high rates for really low data caps. Though there are a lot of different sides to this argument. There are a lot of interesting interveners on the case. Obviously, all the big telecoms are there. I noticed when going through the fine print that Facebook is actually intervening on the case in favor of differential pricing. So while there are a lot of different sides, I'm sure that most people that are paying for data in Canada would agree that they don't get very much for what they pay for. And the United States actually just, T-Mobile, I believe,
and Sprint too.
Yeah, and Sprint, they just have allowed their customers to purchase unlimited data plans. So it's really pushing Canadians to see that maybe we can have this too. Maybe we don't have to pay $80 a month for 2 gigs of data.
I know. I mean, nobody wants that more than me, but I do fear that if that is enforced, the big three will take it just as loosely as they can. They'll charge way more than they charge now. That's my prediction anyway. And they'll have to throttle the speed after a certain amount. So say you use 10 gigs, after that, probably the speed is going to be cut down to a rate that's frustrating to use. So as much as I'd like to be optimistic, that's my prediction for unlimited data.
I guess there's no such thing as unlimited anything.
Right.
No matter how
lunch.
much you have it, right? But,
yeah.
Oh well, I guess the hearing does start on Monday. We are going to be taking a look at it, and you can find our coverage on Mobile Syrup. But otherwise, I believe that covers our extremely busy week in the tech space. So thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like this video and post your comments in the comment section. We will do our best to get back to you.
Give me t-shirt sizes too, guys.
There you go. Bye. This is all going to be on the internet, isn't it?
I think, did you say $14.99?
$14.99? Or maybe that was the American pricing.
Yeah, so okay, hold on a second.